16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. If we could ask our clerk please take the roll.
Councilmember Henry?
Here.
Councilmember Halls?
Here.
Councilmember Howdige?
Here.
Councilmember Naren?
Here.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Here.
Mayor Alinsky?
Here, thank you. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Okay, next on the agenda is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summer unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Do we have any council members with anything to report? No? Nothing? Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give an update that for our response to COVID, you're still holding your weekly meetings with the recovery group, so that's going very well. Still collecting resources for our Cottonwood Connected program, so if there's anybody in the community that is still in need or hasn't received the help they need, they can reach out to the city, and we'll still try to make that connection. I do want to, to help the Cottonwood Connected program, we had a drive-in movie on Thursday night. It went, of last week, went very well. 30 or so cars showed up. We filled up, halfway filled up 2 boxes of canned goods for our program to help out charities. So that was pretty exciting. I was an attendant at the entrance, and just seeing the smile on kids' faces and the appreciativeness of the parents to have something to do and a place to do for no charge. Or, some people forgot, and we just asked them to make a donation the next time they received a call from the Old Town Mission or something like that, and we let them in. And it was just a real good community event. It was nice to see. So thank you to the team who put that together. I would encourage people to not let their guards down yet for COVID-19. We're seeing a few more cases. The hospital has 3 positives currently as of today in the hospital, which was up from 1 yesterday and 0 for about a week before that. So it's not over. We're not through it yet. So we're encouraging people to continue to think about being cautious and careful out there. We're still looking at what we're planning to do for the 29th for pools and kids programming and our camp. The verdict is still out. Our part-timers do come back at that time, but it'll really be depending on the situation with COVID-19, the governor's directives, and local authorities, the health director, and of course our hospital team. So stay tuned for city activities on the 19th. I did want to announce they're having a ribbon cutting ceremony for Ogden Ranch Road tomorrow at noon, out on the road out there off the 260. I also want to announce, if you haven't heard yet, we are hosting the fireworks display to celebrate Independence Day. We have canceled all daytime activities, though. The watermelon and the free food and the veterans recognition, while we love that part of the celebration, we're not hosting that. We have also changed the display to include mostly elevated bursts. So a lot of the ground fireworks have been changed to higher, so people don't need to be present to see them. They can enjoy them from a further distance. The park will be open. If people come in, we ask that they adhere to social distancing. If you're sick or if you're at risk, please stay at home, enjoy from your vehicle. There will be plenty of parking, we hope, to be available there at the fairgrounds, so people can enjoy them there from the back of their truck or from their car.
All right. I appreciate you saying that about the COVID and the cases rising and not being out of the woods yet. As much as we want to welcome folks here, to shop and enjoy what we have up here, it's also important that we, maintain distancing and proper sanitation and everything. I was interviewed today by Arizona Highways, and I was torn because I had to, on the one hand, make it seem as though we are open for business and encouraging folks to come up here, but on the other hand, I remind everyone that we're still being very, very safe and, restaurateurs are encouraging their staff to wear masks and all that. So it was a tough position to be in, as I'm sure we're all in that predicament right now. But thanks for that, reminding folks to be safe. All right, we have a presentation tonight. We're lucky to have representatives from Local First, Arizona, and they're going to be presenting some information on reviving small business. Liza Nolan, thanks so much for making the trip up.
First, let's test technology here. Okay. Go back. So, Mayor and City Council, I can't tell you how happy I am to be out of my house and seeing all your smiling faces today. This is my second trip out of the house in what seems like forever. Yesterday, I was down in Thatcher, and you're right, the Wild West is still alive and well as far as COVID goes, and it's interesting and nice to see the restaurants here that are being very aware of the clean, safe, and ready. So, safe, clean, and ready. I wanted to present to you today, and briefly, so I will speak quickly. If I speak too quickly, you can give me like a sign or something, but just take about 10 minutes of your time. For about the last 2.5 months, Local First Arizona has been administering a small business relief fund statewide and through all 15 counties. We were funded to the tune of, right now we've raised about $1.3 million for the smallest businesses of Arizona in a mini micro grant that was given out in $1,500 to $2,500 increments to businesses with 3 employees or less. So these were Arizona's smallest locally owned businesses that were funded with a grant to infuse cash into their business to help them either keep the lights on, pay their rent, or keep groceries on the table. Through that work and the many, many phone calls that have been made to one-on-one conversations, we're looking at right now about 550 funded businesses. We've kind of come across some best practices, some common challenges, and are kind of going around to the city councils across rural just to help heighten the awareness of what your small businesses might be going through as they begin to reopen and recover. So I just want to share some of that with you today. I'll tell you, Cottonwood's very progressive in this and very in tune with our local businesses, so this might be somewhat, common sense, but hopefully it's somewhat helpful as well. So we've identified 3 primary areas of focus, of need, of challenges for these businesses and kind of the process they're going through as triage in kind of assessing what has happened, what opportunities have arisen, and what challenges may have changed their business forever. Recovery, actually reopening and trying to restart anew. And resiliency, how to build it stronger and better so that when and if this ever happens again, they might be in a different position to withstand something similar. Triage, from the mind of the small businesses, what are they going through? Well, there's been a barrage of resources, email after email from nonprofit organization to for-profit organization to federal organization to, state organization. And I think that even I shut down and stopped paying attention to some of those emails. And so to try to aggregate all of the resources that exist, I think has been a challenge. And I do have to say that the Verde Valley is particularly, fortunate in having a very active SBDC. And I don't say that just because they really, truly were very engaged in some of the of this resource aggregation that had to occur to be able to communicate this. So in just understanding what resources were out there, then the education to how to use them. So imagine that you've gotten all these emails about payroll protection program and EIDL and disaster recovery, and then the PUA unemployment versus the unemployment versus everything else. And so how do they make sure that they're optimizing those resources and don't get themselves in a situation where they've misused the funds and now owe in a way they didn't intend to, or lose some of the benefits of those resources? So to be able to educate and have resources educating them on that is critical to this phase. Pivoting business models is something that has happened organically. If you look at the fact that restaurants could become grocery stores, that was an instant pivot that could potentially extend, could have changed those models forever. But specifically in rural, one of the pivots that has happened is a shift towards online. And now that they've gone online, if they were able to go online, how do they come back to a physical presence and balance both in operations and manpower? And so what does that look like? And then always you'll hear us talking about access to capital. They've had to close their doors. They've probably dipped into their savings, and now they're being asked to reopen and reinvest in a business where they have no cash flow. An example of this is in Superior. When we made a phone call, there was a florist. It was 3 days before Mother's Day. She was able to reopen, but she couldn't afford the stock to bring back in the flowers to capitalize on an opportunity for her store because of cash flow, because of access to capital. So this is kind of in thinking of what resources need to be present and accessible to these businesses during triage. These are the areas they're feeling the most pain. The second phase, some are jumping right back into recovery. They don't have time for triage. Let's just go, see what happens. And in reopening the business, the stress on these businesses is opening safely. What does that look like? What does liability look like? How do they balance what they're being told to do for safety's sake by the CDC and the government, the state, and what their customers want, what visitors want, and the differing opinions of what's right and wrong in this phase? It's a challenge to balance, and they're trying to go through that in a way that keeps customers loyal and still brings dollars to their bottom line. So I have to say that Safe, Clean, and Ready was very progressive and very quickly launched in this region, and I really can't compliment you enough on getting that guidance to them so that they feel like they're uniform in how they're presenting themselves. The second thing is marketing. Again, the resources that you have and any resources you can give that help them to move and shift online are going to come in very handy. Storytelling, whether it be what we've been through, that we've missed you, this is who we are now, this is how we're bringing you back. That digital online storytelling and being able to reach out to their customers, whether it's word of mouth from community leaders like you in helping to tell those stories, or you're helping them in other ways, it's critical to rebuilding that business and reinforcing loyalty. Something to plant a seed. Let's just say family member, I have a brother-in-law who works for Walmart. And they are very focused coming into this coming year on online strategies, thinking about Black Friday and holiday shopping. And they have shifted 100% of their focus to their online departments to figure out how to capitalize on what's going to be their biggest holiday season. For your businesses, that is a huge risk. And so to be thinking about reinforcing those businesses to be able to compete in that realm and supporting local businesses during the holidays is going to be critical. Rehiring is another area. Your local Arizona at Work, Goodwill, other resources that exist for workforce are going to be key here. There are some benefits that inspire some to continue to stay on unemployment versus coming back, and that's a very real challenge for the employers to figure out how to manage that, compete with that, rehire, retrain in a timely manner. And so making sure that your businesses understand the workforce resources that are out there and sharing that with them in any way, shape, or form is important. And debt relief. Again, they've probably incurred some debt, probably have taken on some of these payroll protection loans. And so what can we do, to help them understand and budget? I ran a small business for 5 years. Looking at a financial statement and cash flow was just it just wasn't my forte. And so you kind of come in with a skill, but it doesn't mean you've got all of them, and financials is a challenging one. And then building stronger, better for the future. To have an awareness that not all businesses have the same equitable opportunities as others. To make sure that you're thinking of every business owner, no matter their culture, their background, their customer base, their service, is critical to making sure that they're stronger and meeting them where they are at. So if you've got a strong Hispanic entrepreneurial population, what sort of resources are they being connected to out there? And any other type of ethical diversity that you can put into place, just to have that awareness to build equity in a community, builds it stronger and better. Financial stability in banking, again, I think, locally based banks, your local community banks, I think probably came through very strong for payroll protection loans, and just to support those banks and make sure those banks are healthy in your community, help you there. The other resiliency strategy that the city can take on is to consider dedicating a portion of purchasing to local businesses, whether they be Arizona-based or local-based here in the Verde Valley. That has been done, and there's some percentage of commitment, whether it's 10% or 80%, totally up to you. But in making that commitment, that helps to build that financial strength in times like this. Relationships certainly matter most, and this in Yavapai County has been one that really collaborated very quickly through all of this. But to continue those relationships, don't let that fall to the wayside, and make sure to continue to nurture the nonprofits connected to the for-profits and private to public. And thinking about sustainability. In these times, telecommuting became somewhat popular. Some of us hate it. Thinking about how to maybe minimize your storefront, your footprint, your office hours, your lighting, your water usage. Obviously, all of those things in this region, I think, are obviously top of mind. But I think that is another way, an area of focus to support. I'm going to skip through just in the essence of time and focus on another key area for you all, which is tourism. And I know tourism in this region is super important, and I'm super happy that you do what you do. So a couple of statistics here for you. This is a chart that was provided by the Arizona Office of Tourism and shows tourism by value to county. You can see Yavapai County there. Direct travel spending, this was 2018. Was $949 million. In Yavapai County was up about 12% into this entire region. Now that is the entire county. One of our rural issues is that our statistics are always county-based and never direct into our region. But it gives you an idea. Almost 10,000 jobs are dedicated in Yavapai County to the tourism industry, so it is definitely a driver. And the earnings in millions was about $269 million overall, which translated to $88 million in sales tax and local tax revenue from this county alone. Tax revenue per household, so basically the value that this adds to the community, that the community residents don't have to pay to still benefit from its benefits, if that all makes sense, is about $880 per household. So it is a strong value in this community to have and focus on tourism. And I think our key message with this is that Jim Rounds, who is an economist and very familiar with the rural communities across the state, did a study in partnership with Arizona Office of Tourism of the impact of COVID on tourism, and found that just through what we experienced here, we lost about 65% of our tourism tax revenue. And over the course of 3 years, which will be the pipeline of what we'll feel from that, we'll lose about $32.7 billion statewide. That could translate to about 160,000 jobs lost just in that short period of time. What he also found, and what he's kind of really stumping on right now, is if you at least maintain your current level of tourism advertising, even though we recognize that bed tax dollars probably came down, that tax revenue, that your revenues and your budgets are probably being cut. To cut in this realm is not the right place to cut. And so by maintaining your current expenditures in tourism, we could recapture about 20% of what was lost over the course of those 3 years, about $6.3 billion. And if you doubled or tripled down, he thinks for every 10% that we recapture, it equals about $100 million in sales tax revenue. More or less, he says, dollar for dollar. You will not get your money back any quicker than if you invest in tourism. So we share that only because we know tough decisions are being made. And in tourism communities like this, it really is worth the money to continue to invest in that driver, based off an economist, not just me. So, last little quick thing, tourism, if you are looking at strategy, ruralaz.com, there is a Cottonwood community profile that we've created for Cottonwood. Share it, use it, we do, and we're starting a marketing campaign to highlight these as communities or as people are kind of looking into their local markets for day travel. And we are not being super aggressive on it either because we don't want to be irresponsible. But if they are looking, we want them to know where to go and what they can see in each of our cool little rural towns. If you're looking at advertising strategy, things that they're finding that dictate willingness to travel is higher income and people typically from places with low cases, and they want to travel to places with low cases. So that's kind of some targeting for you if you've got that in-house. 52% of lodging is now being booked within 250 miles of home. So this is the first time where flights don't match hotel rooms. where hotel rooms are just being purchased by people driving to them instead of flying. And you certainly do want to consider an Instagram strategy if you're not already, because our millennials are the ones that are really seeking the experiences right now, and they're looking for pictures and inspiration on some of those platforms. So that's our parting advice there. And that is it.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions from council? No, I just have one statement. Local First, I've always been a strong partner up here, but your ability to quickly mobilize and get that grant program in place really made a difference to a couple people I know up here.
Good.
And, with the federal money and the stimulus and all that stuff, a lot of that still hasn't panned out and may not for several more months. I mean, we just don't know when that money's really going to come through. But your organization really put that program together and put it where it matters most, which is those micro small businesses, which comprise the bulk of our businesses here at Cottonwood. So thank you for
Great.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment, ask a
Yes.
question? The first is I want to make sure Sedona gets a credit for Safe, Clean, Ready. Safe, Clean, Ready. The chamber up there put the program together and allowed us to copy it. Leah from our department did a good job of copying it, but really Jennifer did an amazing job coming up with that program and her team. And then have you done your full presentation recorded anywhere? Because I have some staff members, so I'd like to sit down and kind of go a little slower through some of your slides. A lot of good information in there. So is there anywhere we can go to see your whole presentation?
No, but I certainly can. I can record it and get that to you.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
I will do that this week.
Great. Well, thanks for making the drive up. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of May 5th, May 19, and June 2nd, 2020. And I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. So we have two items under unfinished business. First item is ordinance number 678, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404, general provisions, by deleting the current section 404W, outside display, and adding a new section 404W, use of public sidewalk. This is the second and final reading. We went over this in detail. I don't think there was any resistance from council on this. So I think, if nothing else, I'm ready for a motion.
Make a motion. Move to approve ordinance number 678.
All right, I'll second that. Councilmember Holst made the motion. Mayor seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Halls,
Yes.
Councilmember Haudigi,
I'll be abstaining, considering we have the building downtown.
Correct, thank you.
Councilmember Naren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews,
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky.
Yes. All right, motion passes. If we could please have the clerk read ordinance number 678 by title only.
Ordinance number 678, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404, general provisions, by deleting the current section 404W, outside display, and adding a new section 404W, use of public sidewalk. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
when does this take effect? Is it 30 days or
I
immediately
believe
or what?
30 days after tonight.
Mr. Haudigi, yes.
It's 30 days
Yes.
after
Yes,
adoption.
thank you, sir.
Yep. Okay, second item under unfinished business is ordinance number 679, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 414 R2 zone, single-family, multiple-family residential, by adding a new section C to 8, minimum rear yard, second and final reading. Again, I covered this at the last regular meeting. And it seemed to make a lot of sense at that time, and it still seems to make sense today. So,
Received no comments.
okay. All right.
Like a motion?
Yes.
I move to approve ordinance number 679.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Naren seconded it. If we could have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Halls,
Yes.
Councilmember Haudigi,
Yes.
Councilmember Naren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews,
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Please read ordinance number 679 by title only.
Ordinance number 679, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 414 R2 zone, single-family, multiple-family residential, by adding a new section C to 8 minimum rear yard. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless somebody requests. So I'll read them all. There are 8 items under the consent agenda. If anyone wants an item pulled, just raise your hand, please. Item 1 is approval of utility easement for the installation and maintenance of electric vehicle charging stations behind the city-owned building located at 821 North Main Street. Item 2 is proposed amendment to the presiding magistrate's employment contract. Item 3 is resolution number 3054, adopting a public safety personnel retirement system pension funding policy for fiscal year 2020-2021. Resolution number 3055, designating the city's financial services director as the city's chief fiscal officer for the purpose of submitting the fiscal year 2021 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Resolution number 3056, approving a memorandum of understanding with the Yavapai County Community College District for the sale of discontinued public transit passes to students and staff of Yavapai College. Item 6, resolutions number 3058, 3059, appointing Thomas DeSisto and Lindsay Maston, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 7, renewal of lease agreement with Sandy Brown Seeds Natural Fiber Clothing for the Old Town Jail Building. And item 8 is approving and accepting an FAA CARES Act grant for the Cottonwood Municipal Airport. Would anyone like an item pulled from the consent agenda? All right. Then I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Audrey seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. It's approved. And we need to have the clerk please read resolution number 3054, 3055, 3056, 3058, 3059 by title only.
Resolution number 3054, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, adopting a public safety personnel retirement system pension funding policy. Resolution number 3055, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, designating the chief fiscal officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2021 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Resolution number 3056, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving a memorandum of understanding with the Yavapai County Community College District for the sale of discounted public transit passes for the Cottonwood area transit system. Resolution number 3058, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Thomas DeSisto, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and establishing his term of office. Resolution number 3059, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Lindsay Maston, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and establishing her term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we roll into new business now. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. We have just 5 items tonight on our new business. First up is public hearing regarding the city's proposed fiscal year 2020 to 2021 tentative budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kirsten Lennon, Financial Services Director for the City of Cottonwood. And this is the portion of the meeting where we allow open comment from the public on the fiscal year 2021 tentative budget. So at that time, you can
Okay.
open the floor.
Yes, this is a public hearing, so I don't know if we received any comments by email or dropped off at the clerk's office.
No, Mr. Mayor, I did not receive any comments via email or phone calls.
Okay, I received one request to speak on this item from Anna Mae Corey, and you're more than welcome, Anna Mae, to come up to the podium. Anna Mae, you're more than welcome to come up to the podium. We limit speakers to 5 minutes, but that should give you plenty of time, I hope. Thanks for being here.
It was hard to hear back there, so I wasn't sure what was. Mayor, council members, I'm Anna Mae Corey, and I own the Pines Motel with my family, and I've been a resident of the Verde Valley for over 30 years. I've enjoyed crossing the bridge from Bridgeport and seeing the importance of the Verde River grow and the importance it is in value to our community. I've watched Old Town prosper and the wine trail come into its own. Today I want to speak to the budget. It's a small part of your budget. It's the bed tax that our motel collects and other properties. And I've witnessed lately that there's a step by the city to take the tourism marketing away from the Chamber of Commerce. The 3.5% bed tax is collected by the Cottonwood motels for the purpose of transient lodging, and 85% was given to the Chamber for tourism marketing. Tourism marketing was the purpose of the tax. So last year, a contract was made between the Chamber and the city, and it gave the Chamber a fixed amount of money each month instead of a percent of the bed tax. And this contract ends July 1st. The new contract has not been yet determined. The lodging industry has been hit hard with the COVID-19 crisis, and we are being asked to collect from our diminishing customers 13.325% from all of our sales. We want the collected bed tax to go to promoting tourism, to put heads in beds. Because when we put heads in beds, they eat in our restaurants and they shop in our stores. So I'm happy with the results of the direction of the Chamber has brought to us over the years. So I'm not understanding why we're changing it. I believe we can all work together. It's possible for the city who have ideas for marketing and suggestions that the Chamber of Commerce is perfectly capable of carrying out these tasks for all of Cottonwood, not just a part. It's important to know how our bed tax is spent and for all of Cottonwood, and the Chamber is accountable to the city with reports and records of their activities and their expenditures. The Chamber has exercised transparency in their bookkeeping and in their projects. So who would the city be accountable to if they kept the bed tax? They would not support tourism if the funds ended up in a general fund. So there may be time in the future to change this, but I feel during this downturn, it's not time to make a shift from the current experience. And thank you for listening, and thank you for caring, and thank you for wanting Cottonwood to be the best.
Thank you, Ms. Corey. Thank you for being here.
You don't ask questions, no.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. I believe that's it for the public comment. So we'll go ahead and close the floor then and move on then to the next item, which is adopting the city's fiscal year 2021 tentative budget and establishing an expenditure limitation.
Good evening.
Evening.
We've already had several presentations, a few presentations on the budget this year. Obviously, with COVID, it's been kind of interesting. It was a little late start. So this is the presentation of the proposed tentative budget, and we are going to adopt the expenditure limitation, which will be set at $79,468,850. This is $9.4 million higher than the 2020 revised budget, and this is due to updated numbers as was discussed in the other presentations. Mainly just adjustments and rollovers, capital reserves, and those items that get carried over to the next fiscal year. There was one key change to the tentative budget from the proposed budget, and that is that we moved $241,525 of the half-cent sales tax increase that Council directed us to put towards pension liability funding, and we moved that transfer that into Streets Department for sidewalks. You'll be getting a presentation later on what sidewalks you would like to put that towards. The following are some items that were considered and discussed during the budget process. We added 3 new full-time employees, all part of the water or wastewater fund, and we did 5 reclassifications of full-time employees and 1 part-time reclassification. to increase our sports officials' rate of pay. There is no merit program in this budget. There is no COLA in this budget, but this budget does reflect a 10% increase in health insurance for employees and employer, and a 3% increase in dental insurance. And then, as every year, there is increase for Arizona State retirement and public safety retirement. We also reserve $3.5 million as our general fund reserve, which is 60-day coverage, and then a capital accumulation fund of $1 million and undesignated reserves of $62,000. There's capital equipment of $1,400,000 and capital projects of $16 million. We added to the reserves in the general fund $241,000 and $525 and a cash reserve of $362,000. At this time, I'm going to mention that we are getting, and I think Ron has mentioned at another meeting, that we're getting CARES Act funding of $1.4 million. We've applied for it. There is a long process. It will come back to you for acceptance before we can actually get the award. We are recommending at this time to put that money into reserves until we pretty much see how 2021 goes, and then determine where we want to use those fundings after that. With that all said, that is all I have for now, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions for Ms. Lennon?
Just one to kind of clarify on bed tax money. I don't believe that can or does go into the general fund.
Some of it can go into the general fund. I'm going to let Steve Horton answer that question.
So it was only what they call a discriminatory bed tax that would have been levied after we had our bed taxes in place. So our bed taxes, either most or all of them, are not restricted.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Mr. Manager, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Mayor, Council, no. You've seen the presentation. I think that the flexibility is the key to this budget. The 1.4, there's lots of opportunities to do something with that at the end of this next FY. Lord willing, things come back good and revenue continues to be good or becomes good. We'll have that, and there's no authority in here for us to do anything with it, so it'll sit on the side. It'll have to come back to council to spend any of that $1.4 million. The plan is to do that next year, either during the budget process or as needs arise, should they arise. I think that in mid-year, January, February, we can look and see how we're doing. I sure would like to do something for employees. There are employees, I've already stated, that will take home less money starting in July just because of retirement and medical costs. Not all employees, but some. So I'd really like to be able to do something for employees. There are a couple projects that I'd really like to fund and do, but we have them in the queue for January. We took care of some critical things in here, including we are funding the consultant for the radio study for police officers. So there are some safety things in here that we're taking care of. We're adding to the infrastructure, as that you've seen in front of you. So I think it's a good balanced budget. I think there's flexibility both ways if we need mid-year, and I really think that it sets us up for a good place for next fiscal year. I'd like to think that Liza's going to be wrong, and it won't be a 3-year recovery, not for Cottonwood. I think that given our dependence on commercial retail, I think that we should rebound faster than some of the others that are more dependent on bed tax and 100% hotel. So I think we'll be in a better place. But as I told someone today, my crystal ball is broken. It's kind of foggy right now. So this is a good, safe way to move forward.
Mayor, if I can, just a comment, not a question for Ms. Lennon, but piggybacking on what our city manager did, and I did want to address some comments that I've received privately about chamber funding and from staff about the cost of living, that we're not doing an increase, and no merit as well. These are tough times, and these are tough decisions that we're making, But when I get these daily reports from our city manager and from the county that our cases are not level, they're not decreasing, but they're increasing, I think for personally as a city council member, it would be reckless for us to not be focusing on reserves and making sure that we're keeping this ship in financially in a financial situation where we can weather this storm. So I echo what our city manager said. I would like to look at later how we can take care or not take care of, but look at our compensation for our employees and our staff. That is very dear to my heart, but I also don't want to see any more layoffs if we don't see the budget projections that we're looking at right here. And that is my number one goal right now as far as staff. With regard to the chamber, and we recently heard a comment from Ms. Corey, I've gotten, and I'm sure my fellow council members have also gotten communications from council members, business owners in the chamber board members, business owners in the community. And at this point, I personally am not supporting bringing back a contract for this fiscal year. I am very interested in, as we discussed at a recent meeting with chamber leadership. The city has up to $100,000, is my understanding, that we still have that built in for marketing. I would like to craft some sort of partnership, working relationship with the chamber moving forward to help with the marketing campaign, make sure we are supporting our local business in that manner as well. I would also like to point out that we are supporting our local businesses in other ways as well, but personally, I don't feel, I understand not having a contract makes it look as though the city is turning its back on the chamber. I'd like to advocate for the opposite of that. I would still like to work with the chamber with the funds that we do have available in a different manner than we historically have done, and then see what next fiscal year looks. And thank you, Mayor, for the time. I just wanted to address on the record because I have gotten so many communications from folks on those 2 points. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And, I know the vice mayor as well has had ongoing conversations with board members from the chamber. So it's a continual conversation that's going to go into through the summer, but we are looking at ways we can, put together a relationship that works as well as possible for both organizations. So we're not turning our back on them at all. We are trying to figure out a new way to partnership through these difficult times that we're all, just doing the best we can through. So, but I agree with you. We need to make sure our ship is sound, and that's our number one priority. So this budget, in my mind, reflects that. So thank you.
I appreciate your comments, and I would agree with you 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I would also agree.
Okay. I believe you need a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the city's proposed fiscal year 2021 tentative budget as presented and to establish the city's fiscal year 2021 tentative expenditure limitation at $79,468,850.
I'll second the motion. So Vice Mayor made the motion, Mayor seconded it. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes?
Councilmember Halls,
Yes?
Councilmember Howdigy,
Yes.
Councilmember Naren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews,
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, third item under new business is presentation, discussion, and direction to staff regarding fiscal year 2021 sidewalk projects. Evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
I don't know that I've ever seen you in a tie before.
I know, right? It's a little weird. My name is David Hausman. I'm the Public Works Manager for the City of Cottonwood. Tonight, staff is seeking direction for this coming year's FY21 sidewalk improvement funds. As Council knows, the sidewalk improvement funds are utilized for infill sidewalk projects along our arterial and collector roadways. As Kirsten has mentioned, Council has directed us to fund $100,000 every year to complete these projects. This year, Council has added additional funds from the 2018 half-cent sales tax increase. So our proposed budget for the sidewalk improvements for FY21 is $493,000 roughly. This total includes a carryover project. This project was on Main Street. It's a Main Street sidewalk project from Cactus Street to Old Clarkdale Highway that was previously approved by council in the April 21st regular meeting. The total for that project was $151,605, which leaves us a total of $341,525 for new sidewalk projects. Staff has reviewed the list of the sidewalk priorities and is recommending the following projects for this upcoming year. The first project is on Willard Street. It's from Beat Street to Paulus Street. It's on the east side of the road. It's a connecting portion there. Another project that we're recommending is also on Willard Street, and that project is from the Verde Valley Medical Center to Mingus Avenue. The last project, it's a small portion. It's on 12th Street. It's from the Pueblo Apartments to Cherry Street. I wanted to note that the 12th Street project will be completed in-house by our streets department, and we're estimating a savings around $33,000 by doing that in-house. These total cost of these projects come to about $338,000. Keep in mind the estimates that you guys have in your packets include a 10% inflation compared to the original cost estimates that were provided, and that's us seeing an increase in the construction costs. Another option we're wanting to make here is make adding sidewalks to the north side of First Street, and that's going to be from Monte Tesoro to Chuckawalla. We can make that a top priority for FY21. What staff would recommend is we budget $65,000 for the engineering cost, and then we would construct in FY22. If council decides to make First Street the top priority, we would have to take off one of the infill projects previously mentioned. I would recommend taking off the Willard Street VVMT to Mingus Avenue project. By removing this, we could have plans created for First Street and have around $57,000 remaining. We would use that money for contingency on project overruns, and then we could roll the remaining funds over into FY22 for the construction of the First Street projects. That's all I have at this time, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Mr. Mayor, before we open, if I can add, the reason we're really offering two recommendations, one is those first three projects are shovel-ready. We have plans, designs ready to go, and so that was our original thought. At that time, we thought the total cost for sidewalks on First Street was almost $1 million.
Correct.
A little more research and talking to some people, that's for both sides of First Street and some other work. Our goal is not currently to put sidewalks on both sides of every street in the community. It's really to create a walking path or sidewalks along streets everywhere in our community, at least on one side, get people off the street. So we believe that we can now do First Street over 2 years, $65,000 or so to plan for this year to create the designs, take care of drainage, those kinds of things, and then we would have enough money in the next year to actually construct the whole project, one side of it, based on the information we now have. So it's a legitimate alternative. It just kind of depends on what council wants us to do.
Okay, thanks. And thank you, Mr. Hausman. Council, what are your thoughts?
I do have one question. This rollover from the Main Street Cactus to Old Clarkdale Highway, is that the one we couldn't do and had trouble with easements?
No, sir.
Okay. So that's not
This one is ready to go. We have our easements. We have, actually, we had already communicated to the neighbors that we were going to build it to get them all ready. And then this is the one we held to make sure we had cash in the bank, given the COVID response.
Thank you.
That street is no longer on our recommended list until that easement's addressed.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah, I would just like to expound a little bit on what Mr. Corbin said. Last year, when we were doing the budget, we had the opportunity for First Street to be done with the monies that we'd received. And the sidewalk that the Vice Mayor just mentioned was a priority at that time, and we believed that it would go through. And we, as a council, we agreed to do that sidewalk to complete the trail system in lieu of doing First Street, which we're still having major problems speeding and so forth on First Street because there is no access other than the street roadway itself. There are a lot of people, families and individuals using First Street for walking purposes, walking their dogs, walking their children, and it's becoming a real physical hazard for pedestrians. I would ask that we go ahead and do the 2-year plan. As Mr. Corbin pointed out, originally when I met with him and Dave last week, he showed me plans that said 2 sides, everything done. Oh, that sounds beautiful, but that isn't what we agreed to, and that's why we walked it back. I would ask that we honor those agreements as part of our sidewalk program and then complete it in the 2022 budget year.
Any other thoughts, Councilman?
No, I ride around town quite a lot now. And I see all these missing sidewalks everywhere. And I mean, we can't do them all, and it'll take quite a while, but I'm glad we're chipping away at it. And First Street is sidewalk all the way up from 260 right up to Monte Tesoro, and then that's it. It just kind of dies. So I can't argue the case that it could use that sidewalk continuing up First Street.
I agree. I think it also is the most heavily trafficked as far as from what I've noticed at the part where we don't have a sidewalk. I see a lot of folks out there walking dogs, especially on leash. I've noticed that. I have not done any kind of study, but I just do notice, maybe because we don't have it. So I could support that as well.
Councilmember Nairn?
I would agree. I think that we need to go with the option of getting First Street done sooner rather than later.
Okay. Would you agree, Mr. Hodegay?
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay. Look, I'm just happy we're getting some sidewalks done, so I can go any which way on this. So it looks like the plan would then be to drop the number 27 off that infill map, which would be the Willard Street VVMC to Minks Avenue. So we'll drop that, go ahead and insert the design phase of FIR, and move to construct that in 2022. Okay. All right, I should have made that a motion, huh?
No motion needed, sir. Direction only.
Direction,
We're good.
great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next item 4 is resolution number 3057, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Department of Transportation for the rehabilitation of the blowout wash Pima Street Bridge.
Did he leave?
Who, Hausman?
Yeah.
No, Hausman's
So,
still here.
Mr. Mayor, Steve and I are going to tackle this one. As you notice, we don't have a city engineer right now. So this is really a financing option. It's a great grant. That bridge was identified as needing repairs. The state is going to pay for almost all of it, the design and the build.
Actual federal money, state administered, Federal Highway Administration.
So we recommend, utilizing other people's money as much as possible, and anything to help our bridges in our community.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be Mayor and Council, it will be a 4-point-something% match. So it is, and it's a $700,000 project. I'm sorry, a 5-point-something% match. It's 94-point-something on the federal side. So it will be in the neighborhood of $40,000 for the pre-project work, the design, the administration, and then the actual construction. That would be the city share.
What will they be doing to the bridge?
They will be painting after the design is done, they will be painting the superstructure to preserve it, and then they will be rehabbing the entire bridge deck.
Mr. Mayor, when we have a city engineer on board, we can come back with a better description of exactly what they're doing. I apologize.
It's okay. That seems like we should go for it, by all means.
Please, please.
Just want to know what we're getting for the however much.
You didn't think I did a good job?
I think it's less than
I think you did a great job,
40,000,
Steve.
And I mean, it seems like we're getting a pretty good deal.
Yes.
I did have questions about what exactly rehabbing the bridge deck meant, but again, just from what we have in the materials, it seems as though we're not paying very much. We're getting good value for our investment.
Right, and I think it's, for a small bridge and for $700,000, I think we're essentially getting a new bridge.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll make this commitment. When I have an engineer or when we can get up to speed exactly what's going to happen, we'll bring it back to a work session. That way council's aware of what's going on.
Sure, that'd be great.
I think spending $40,000 for $650,000 is a pretty good deal.
The math, I don't do math very well, Mr. Mayor, but this one worked.
Yes, right. All right.
So I move to approve Resolution 3057, approving the proposed IGA with ADOT for the rehabilitation of the blowout wash Pima Street Bridge.
Second?
All right, Councilmember Nairn made the motion and Vice Mayor seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Halls.
Yes.
Councilmember Howdigy.
Yes.
Councilmember Nairn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews.
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
Yes, thank you. And
Motion carried.
please read resolution number 3057 by title only.
Resolution number 3057, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Department of Transportation for the rehabilitation of the Pima Street Blowout Wash Bridge. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, item 5 is Barbara Walker versus City of Cottonwood, approval of settlement agreement.
And this is just yay. We've had a property damage claim. This is really a formality. This is, the settlement is covered by the insurer, but this is a dispute that arose out of the 12th Street widening project. And there was some changes in the design by request and then by withdrawal of a request to avoid this particular property, and somehow between the design and the construction, the crown of the road in that area was probably a few inches too high. The record keeping could have been better on all sides, but we decided in the litigation that we weren't going to contest liability. The damages were, the claim damages, there was really very little evidence to support them. So this was an offer that was made in a last effort to avoid trial, and thankfully it was accepted. And this is just a formality for the city to accept it, and the carrier will proceed.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Horton? I'm sure glad we're coming to a close on this.
And I was thinking about this on the drive down. I think this means that we have no pending litigation, which is quite a thing for us, and it's pretty unusual. No administrative proceedings, internal or external, no investigations pending, and no lawsuits, state or federal.
What shall you do?
Not a clue. So may that continue.
All right. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move to approve the proposed settlement agreement in the case of Barbara Walker versus City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County Superior Court, case number CV 2016-80271, and authorize the mayor, city manager, and/or city attorney to execute settlement agreement and any other documents necessary and appropriate to conclude the settlement.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Henry seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Halls.
Yes.
Councilmember Howdigy.
Yes.
Councilmember Nairn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews.
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right. I move that we pay the claims.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Holst seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And the next is executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1. The council may vote to convene an executive session to review the city clerk's employment, contract, salary, and other matters related to the continued employment, her continued employment, subject to the city clerk's right to compel the council to discuss this matter in open meeting, And Ms. Jimenez, I do believe you were okay with us discussing this in executive session?
Yes, I received my letter, and I did request that the discussion be held under executive session.
Okay. Thank you.
Then Would you like a motion?
Yes.
I move to convene an executive session to review the city clerk's employment contract, salary, and other matters related to the continued employment of our city clerk.
Great.
Second.
Councilmember Henry made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. Roll call vote? Do we need a roll call vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're in executive session. Are we leaving?